Hi, I'm Deborah Lou Harder.
Hi, Deborah.
Ching-Yun, it's so wonderful to meet you here at your festival. I'd just love to learn a little bit more about you. Where did you grow up?
I came to the States when I was 14, but originally I was from Taipei.
From Taipei?
Yeah, from Taipei, Taiwan.
Were your parents musicians?
Actually, in my family, nobody has ever been musicians, but my mother always loved classical music, and at her time, it was very difficult to learn piano. There was no such a thing as listening to classical music, except maybe midnight. You can listen to some symphonies on the radio. So she always stayed up until midnight to listen to classical music symphonies, and of course, she tried to instill this love for classical music for her children. And somehow I picked it up and I wanted to become a concert pianist so much that I asked my parents to please let me go abroad and study so I can study with wonderful teachers. And originally I wanted to go to Moscow when I was 12, and of course they wouldn't let me. So eventually they thought, well, you speak a little bit of English, so let's send you to America. And we didn't know many schools, so Juilliard was the most well-known school at the time for us. We didn't know other schools, so they say, oh, let's try Juilliard. And after audition, I was in, so that's how I started my education in America.
To study piano?
Yes.
So when did you realize that you wanted to make the US your home?
So I came when I was 14, and first city was actually Philadelphia. So every Saturday I would travel to New York City to go to Juilliard Pre-College, and eventually I did move to New York and stay there for several years. And after master's, I had this great opportunity to work with Sergei Babayan, and at the time he was in Cleveland at the Cleveland Institute of Music. So I went to Cleveland and worked with him, and from there led to the Rubinstein International Piano Competition Prize, which I won the top prize. And from there I started my touring, and I moved to London, and I stayed in Germany, and eventually came back to America and made this home for now.
So you kind of moved around, and now you're back in Philadelphia.
Yes,
and
that's right.
Your home base.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Can you remember a particular moment when you were a student, when it was as if a teacher gave you the keys to the kingdom of music?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think there were several moments. Every teacher had some memory that is instilled in me that I remember clearly. But I think from Babayan, he was really someone is still someone who is very important to me. And I think when I went to him, I was already playing really difficult repertoire, not just in terms of the technique or the repertoire difficulty, but also emotional difficulties. And I think what he did was to open a completely different sound world in my playing. It's almost like something is already there, and he made, like a magician, he made this with this hat, and the rabbit came out. And so I remember when I started working with him, we would start maybe like 7:30 at night, and the lesson would end at midnight. So it would be Prokofiev 6 followed by some Mozart, followed by some Chopin Third Sonata, and then Prokofiev Third Concerto. It's like pieces one after another. A lot of information. And I remember he was working with me on the Mozart Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, the variation. And just the opening we spent, oh my God, 1 hour just to produce one note of sound on the do. We had 1 hour. And I think those 2 years I was in Cleveland were very, very important to me. And of course, we are still in touch this day. Sometimes I go and play for him. Sometimes we meet even in Tel Aviv because we cannot figure out how to meet because his schedule, my schedule. So we end up meeting in France, in Tel Aviv, somewhere else, in Taiwan. But yeah, that's, if you ask me, one moment, it's not one moment, but it's the experience of his influence and of Cleveland, where I did not have a car. And my life was only music, 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 but it's almost like meditation. Like I was there at a city where I didn't have much else to do, and everything was music. Yeah, it was so special.
Immersed.
Yeah.